Imagine the roar of an aging Boeing 727, its engines vibrating as the aircraft cuts through a gray Pacific Northwest sky. Picture the scent of fear and adrenaline, thick in the air, as a lone figure in a suit stands in the aisle. A note clutched tightly in his hand, a calculated demeanor that betrays nothing of the restless tension in his chest. He looks out of the small window, the world below becoming a blur of greens and browns, far removed from the life he left behind. Tonight we are looking at a story of audacity and desperation, the tale of D.B. Cooper, a name that slipped into the fabric of American folklore, with the flicker of a parachute against a darkened sky. It unfolds in the quiet corners of a nation still grappling with the unrest of the times, where economic uncertainty and social upheaval brewed a unique cocktail of fear and courage. On November 24, 1971, Cooper's audacious act would plunge him into legend, a man who vanished into the wilderness, leaving only questions in his wake. As the plane flew toward Seattle, Cooper's intentions lay hidden beneath the veneer of calm. In the passenger cabin, the occupants, blissfully unaware of the fate awaiting them, exhibited an array of emotions. Nervous glances exchanged between strangers, whispers laced with fear creeping through the air like an unseen fog. The crew maintained their professionalism, the tinged anxiety simmering just beneath the surface, palpable yet dimmed in the face of routine. In the cockpit, the pilots navigated not just the skies, but the growing reality of what they were facing. A man demanding ransom, a distinct shift from the mundane to the harrowing. As the altitude decreased, so did the certainty of their trajectory. The passengers thought little of the dark rumors swirling through the nation's consciousness, of a crime so brazen it would weave itself into the nation's memory. The rain began to patter against the metal skin of the aircraft, a rhythmic echo that felt almost soothing, contrasting the storm brewing within. High above the ground, a delicate tension wrapped around the plane, each drop a reminder of the reality awaiting them on the ground below. Seattle glimmered in the distance, an oasis framed by shadows and promise. And then there, in the confines of the cabin, Cooper executed his plan, confidently handing a note to a flight attendant. The ink on the paper was almost supernatural in its control of the moment. It transformed the normality of air travel into a theater of uncertainty. The passengers remained oblivious, lost in their thoughts of arrivals and connections, unaware of the tempest wrapping around them. The ensuing discussion within those small passenger quarters, behind closed doors and hushed exchanges, would lead to irrevocable change. Cooper's demands were communicated with a chilling calmness. Perhaps it was the certainty of ambition that prevented panic, both for him and those caught within his machinations. We delve into this world where the lines blur between the criminal and the covert, as D.B. Cooper coolly navigated the tension on board, amidst the growing sophistication of law enforcement response. The weight of his choices began to settle into the consciousness of the crew. His calculated demands for $200,000 and 4 parachutes painted an eerie portrait of hope against despair. Therefore, as the minutes melted into one another, Cooper maneuvered both the plane and the hearts of those within it. The distractions took form in the shape of money and escape, drawing the crew into a vortex where protocols unraveled. The stark reality of their situation became more pronounced as they approached their destination, a unique blend of reality and life encapsulated in the form of a banking office, about to receive a turmoil of chaos. And as we unravel the layers of this story, we honor the complexity of the moment. The journey stretches beyond a mere hijacking. It speaks of a time when the fabric of society felt stretched to its limits. The scenes that unfolded were not merely those of a crime, but echoes of fear and mystery, challenging the status quo with every heartbeat. This is the tale of D.B. Cooper, a man who, with a single act, dared to defy gravity, not just in the physical sense, but in the tension woven deeply into the American psyche. A chapter steeped in intrigue and uncertainty, it becomes more than a story of crime. It evolves into a part of the cultural narrative, a chilling reminder of what can happen when desperation meets opportunity. Join us as we delve into the depths of the D.B. Cooper case, a journey through the air and wilderness that leaves us pondering the fate of a man who vanished without a trace. Chapter 1. The Flight from Portland. The sun hangs low in the sky, a dying ember, as the Boeing 727 rolls down the tarmac at Portland International Airport. The air is crisp, the kind of cool that pricks the skin. A slight breeze whispers through the trees, shaking loose a single dry leaf. Passengers shuffle on board, some laughing, others lost in thought, unaware of the shadows that loom. In seat 18C, D.B. Cooper sits, the fabric of his suit crisp against the worn upholstery. He looks like any other traveler, inconspicuous, composed. The roar of the engines becomes a gentle hum, lulling everyone into a shared sense of safety. As the plane accelerates, the world outside blurs. The ground falls away, and Portland shrinks into nothingness. Trees, roads, and homes all sink into the past with every passing moment. Cooper turns briefly to look out the window, taking in the patchwork of landscapes beneath him. A thin veneer of calm wraps around the cabin, but beneath this calm lies something much darker. With the seatbelt sign still illuminated, Cooper reaches into his jacket pocket. The soft rustle of paper barely registers above the whir of the engines. He scribbles something on a note, folding it carefully. His fingers, steady and deliberate, betray none of the urgency brewing within. A flight attendant approaches, her smile warm and inviting. She isn't prepared for what follows. Cooper discreetly slides the note across the aisle. Her brow furrows as she reads, the familiar ink scrawling a reality that shatters the mundane atmosphere. "I have a bomb," it declares, stark and unyielding. The words pulse in the air, heavy and suffocating. Her breath quickens, a primal response to the very essence of danger. It isn't just a threat, it's an intro to a nightmare. Cooper's eyes remain fixed on her, as steady as the ocean depths. He reveals a briefcase, cracks it open just enough for her to glimpse the wires, the devices inside, ominous in their potential. Anxiety ripples through the cabin. The gentle chatter ceases, replaced by a thick tension that coils around every passenger. The flight itself becomes a vessel of discomfort. Each tick of the clock is a reminder of the moment, a heartbeat growing louder. Cooper charts a course in his mind, the reality of his situation slowly settling like dust after a storm. The demands are clear: cash, a parachute, and an unscheduled landing. The flight attendant nods, swallowing hard, her heart pounding against her chest like a caged animal. She retreats to the cockpit under the watchful eye of the man who seems far too composed. A tense silence envelops the cabin, interrupted only by the distant whine of engines and the soft rustle of anxious bodies shifting in their seats. Cooper, now alone with his thoughts, senses the gravity of his plan. Outside, clouds obscure the ground, swirling and gray, a churning sea of moisture. It feels appropriate. His heartbeats go slow, steady and methodical, counting down to what lies ahead. Moments stretch into an eternity. Each passing minute carries weight, a silence that feels almost sacred. The passengers remain unaware of the turmoil unfolding just a few feet away. They sit, lost in their distractions, as Cooper tightens his grip on fate, shaping the world with each calculated breath. As the 727 flies north toward Seattle, the weight of his choices drapes around him like a heavy shroud, significant yet strangely liberating. Alaska Air Route 23 prepares for descent, and Cooper's mind sharpens with clarity. The plane begins its approach, tension palpable as the approach lights glow in the distance. The cockpit crew's focused expressions mirror the urgency of the moment. Conversations echo, but all fade into the background for Cooper, who is now a ghost with an unseen and powerful intention. He knows that in a matter of hours the world will know his name, though for now It clings to the shadows. The runway stretches out before them, a staunch reminder of destiny. Engines roar as Cooper prepares to shift from being a mere passenger to an unwilling participant in his own story. He gathers himself, feeling the weight of history pressing down, an inevitability that pushes him toward action. The landing gear deploys with a thump, metal against metal, yet Cooper remains unshaken. The sounds of the aircraft are drowned out by the relentless beat of his heart. Time slows, and every second drawn out, a tight coil of tension waiting to snap. The ground rushes closer, and the moment of truth hovers just ahead. The wheels touch down like a whisper, a gentle embrace with the dark tarmac. At once, reality collides with intent. The aircraft rolls to a stop, and Cooper's breath steadies, grounding him in the present. But then, so close to freedom, an unexpected jolt rips through the cabin, a rumble that no one anticipated. The uncertainty settles once again, cold as steel. This is not simply a flight. It's a harbinger of chaos, a vessel on the cusp of transformation. As Cooper feels his resolve harden, the first sirens begin to wail in the distance, the sound echoing through the night like a ghostly reminder of what comes next. Outside, in the shadowy underbelly of the world, lives are unknowingly tethered to the upheaval that has just begun. The final call feels imminent, a grim milestone on the edge of a precipice, hinting at the unraveling chaos that will undoubtedly follow. Before we descend further into the dark, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. You won't want to face the rest of this journey alone. And before we continue, drop a comment and tell me where in the world you are watching from tonight. Knowing you are out there, somewhere in the dark, makes this history feel all the more alive. Chapter 2. The Demand. In the dim interior of the Boeing 727, the atmosphere is thick with tension. Passengers sit in hushed silence, their eyes darting between one another and the man who has taken control of their fate. D.B. Cooper, a figure both ordinary and enigmatic, occupies the narrow aisle, his demeanor unsettlingly calm. He is not a monster from folklore, but a man with a desperate demand. The air is heavy with the scent of metal and sweat. Faint whispers of fear ripple through the cabin, punctuated by the soft hum of the plane's engines cutting through the clouds. "I'm armed," he states, a flatness to his voice that sends shivers through the rows of seated passengers. Eyes widen. Breath catches. The weight of his words hangs densely in the air. It feels both real and surreal, like an uncontrollable nightmare unfolding in slow motion. He asks for $200,000 in cash. This figure is not arbitrary. It represents freedom and the promise of escape. The sound of the words reverberates, settling into the minds of those encircled by uncertainty. Cooper's demand is specific, pragmatic. The plane's crew, skilled yet unprepared for this uncharted scenario, knows the gravity of the situation. Just as the tension peaks, he includes 4 parachutes. The very notion sends a palpable chill through the cabin. The passengers, mere pieces on a chessboard, wonder who he intends to share the leap with. It introduces a new layer of fear, a grim anticipation of flight, not just inside the confines of an aircraft, but into the wide, unforgiving expanse of the world below. The flight attendants nod vigorously, eyes wide, but maintaining a facade of professionalism as they scurry to comply. Their hearts are racing beneath crisp uniforms. Each step they take reverberates, echoing against the metal chassis. In the cockpit, the pilots glance at each other, faces drawn tight with unspoken questions. They are the guardians of this metal bird, yet at this moment, vulnerability envelops them like a shroud. They know the stakes. They hold lives in their hands, yet one man has usurped their authority. With the mood shifting to something heavier, Cooper adds one last demand: fuel to reach a destination unknown, a critical component in his escape plan. The gasps from the passengers turn to murmurs of disbelief. escalating in pitch and rhythm. It is a call for manipulation and control, tightening the noose of their collective anxiety. Outside, the world spins below them, oblivious to the chaos unfolding within the confined space. Each second ticks by, measured against the mounting tension. The coldness from outside seeps into the cabin, mixing with the sweat of fear. The crew engages in a hushed, urgent conversation, knowing decisions need to be made swiftly. The call for cooperation ignites a desperate energy. They choose safety over confrontation. They begin to negotiate, adopting a tone that masks their own fears but reveals the fragility of their circumstances. Panic brews beneath the surface, simmering just out of reach. Passengers clutch their bags tightly, fingernails digging into fabric, as if holding on to something tangible, something that represents their own survival. The quiet desperation vibrates through the cabin. As Cooper listens, a calm determination fills him. He is aware of the power he wields, knowing that through his calculated demands, he reshapes the narrative of the moment. Each concession granted by the crew fortifies his resolve. With a slow, deliberate breath, he assesses the faces around him. He sees their fear mirrored in the reflections of the windows. Silence pulls tighter around them, a coil of dread. In this suspended reality, the clock keeps ticking, time stretching thin, a pausing breath before the plunge. The demands are relayed to the airline, an urgent, agonizing connection, severing perceived safety from actual safety. The choices being made are not merely about immediate survival. They signal a deeper confrontation with risk, with power, and ultimately, with fate. Each passing moment informs his next move. It builds a silence so profound that even the plane's engines seem to yield, harmonizing the anxiety into one collective breath held by all aboard. Then the gravity of realization settles in. The airline prepares to meet his demands. They are choosing the passengers' safety, yet the price of that choice looms ominously in the shadows. What lies in wait is the knowledge that this moment is only the beginning, a precipice teetering over the unknown. As the plane descends further into uncertainty, the atmosphere thickens with a sense of inevitability. Cooper, with calculated poise, waits and watches. Plans are set in motion, and the world outside remains completely unaware. The wind howls against the fuselage, whispering secrets unknown to those locked in this precarious dance of control. With every passing second, the reality of escape begins to take root. The scene holds its breath as dawn approaches, a new chapter waiting to unfold. The decision to comply is made, but at what cost? The tension builds, a relentless tide. The heart of every passenger quickens silently, holding on to an invisible strand of hope and fear. In the vastness above the Pacific Northwest, uncertainty looms, intertwining with the darkening clouds. The aircraft races towards an inevitable conclusion. In those quiet moments, something primal stirs within them all, an instinct for survival, a revelation of the gravity of their collective plight. The engine hums in harmony with their trepidation. Cooper remains unyielding, watching, calculating his next move. The world outside blurs into an indistinct mass. Every heartbeat resonates within this metal encasement. All that remains is a moment, a flicker of understanding that everything can change in an instant. The Boeing 727 touches down on the tarmac of Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. The roar of the engines fades into an unsettling silence, filled only by the distant murmur of the crew. Tension thickens in the air, palpable like a storm on the horizon. D.B. Cooper sits in the dimly lit cabin, a world torn between panic and resolve. He scans the faces of the flight attendants, their expressions a mix of fear and compliance. Outside the aircraft, a spectacle unfolds, though he is cocooned in the narrow confines of his thoughts. The flight has come to an end, yet it is far from over. There is a handoff to orchestrate, and the meticulousness of his plan must now be executed. Every detail matters. As the aircraft taxis towards the designated area, Cooper feels the weight of the money in the backpack at his feet. Bundles of cash, wrapped tightly, representing a fleeting fortune amassed through terror. Each breath he takes is measured, the air thick with both anticipation and dread. Outside, an array of flashing lights pierces the night. Police cars, emergency vehicles, and FBI agents converge, a tight cordon strung around the plane. The sight of his captors simmering in the distance provides a sense of both security and peril. He knows their every move is an attempt to regain control. Passengers await their fate in the cabin, their hearts pounding like drums. The air is heavy with fear. They hold on to the threads of hope. Cooper's gaze drifts to them, contemplating their expressions of confusion and worry. Each face offers a mirror to his intentions, a reflection of his choices. A soft voice crackles through the plane's intercom. It carries a calm urgency, guiding the passengers and the crew through the imminent release. As they are instructed to remain seated, Constance, one of the flight attendants, gathers her composure. She eyes Cooper carefully, assessing the gravity of the moment. The darkened cabin feels stifling, the shadows pressing in on them. Cooper knows that his demands must be met to ensure the release of the hostages. He has negotiated time and space, but now it is time for the exchange. Steps are heard outside, purposeful and deliberate. The authorities are ready. Cooper grips the backpack tighter, the cool fabric a steady reminder of his aim. They are coming for him, and he must remain the master of the situation. The flight attendants begin to move toward the rear slide. The air is thick with hesitation, moving through them as they unfold their roles in the impending transfer. Each moment hangs in limbo, a taut line threatening to snap. Outside, the sun has vanished completely, leaving only the stark glow of emergency lights reflecting against the fuselage. The cold bite of night looms. The sound of the door unlatched reverberates like a heartbeat, resonating through the cabin. A rush of cool air sweeps in, a stark contrast to the warmth each passenger clings to against the chill of fear. Cooper senses the tremor in the air, the change palpable as he steels his resolve for what must come next. Constance moves aside, allowing the authorities to finally breach the interior of the plane. Their footsteps echo against the metal walls, an intrusion into his carefully crafted chaos. The agents hold their breath as they clear the cabin, focusing on the man who has made this night one of fear and notoriety. Cooper meets their gazes, resolving to orchestrate the next phase with measured intent. His face remains an unreadable mask. He calculates the manner of their approach, their determination evident but cautious. The agents pass by the rows of seats, allowing the hostages to remain untouched for now. One focuses on Cooper, assessing the situation as though he were a puzzle to solve. The air buzzes with unspoken communication, each side vying for control in this delicate arrangement. Cooper knows that he is the epicenter of this unfolding drama. The tension builds, each heartbeat cascading into the next. What will come next determined not just his fate, but that of all on board. They may think they hold the upper hand, but Cooper's presence looms over them like a dark cloud. Outside, the temperature continues to plummet. The cold pervades the plane, settling against skin like ice. Fatigue presses down upon him, heavy as the bundles of cash he desperately needs to transport. This journey toward freedom hangs precariously upon the exchange. Without rushing, he conducts the transfer. Bundles are handed off carefully, a dance of grim determination. The money is passed into welcoming arms, received with an urgency that speaks only of fear. The room feels tighter, the atmosphere thickening with every move. Dark thoughts brew as the last of the cash vanishes from view. He senses the shift. His control is slipping, and yet he holds the card he needs, his knowledge of what lies ahead. Constance stands quietly to one side, watching this carefully orchestrated exchange unfold. Every minute is a testament to his cool-headedness amidst an escalating tide of anxiety. She wonders privately how a man can appear so calm, so in charge, while the world around him threatens to erupt. With every passing moment, though, uncertainty creeps in. The baggage is transferred. The money is gone. But at what cost? Cooper's mind races as he contemplates the next move. Timing is everything, and he knows he must capitalize on this opportunity, or it might slip away entirely. As the last of the money disappears, he senses an itch in the back of his mind. It's the realization that this precarious balance must be maintained. He cannot afford mistakes. Cooper's eyes drift to the flight attendants again, who now seem a mix of relief and escalating dread. He aches for the illusion of control, which feels more like a noose tightening around his throat with every tick of the clock. An air of inevitability hangs in the balance. The sun has set completely outside, and darkness envelops the scene like a shroud. The cold continues to seep into the bones of the freezing cargo around them. He wonders if they're aware just how quickly the tide of fate can change, how easily moments slip away unbidden. As he glances outside, the sight of the authorities gathering reinforces his awareness. They are waiting, calculating, watching. Beneath his calm exterior, adrenaline courses through him. He knows that he must now act. Time waits for no man, and every passing second edges them closer to an irreversible decision. With the air thickening, a heavy silence swells. What choice will Cooper make as the final threads of control slip away, and the grip he clings to begins to unravel? The darkness extends beyond the windows, blurring the lines between escape and entrapment. The stage is set, the players in position. All it needs now is a spark to ignite the next chapter of this audacious tale. Chapter 4. A timed departure. The sun dips low on the horizon, bathing the airport in warm orange hues. Yet inside the aircraft, a different kind of tension unfolds. It is a Boeing 727, a well-traveled vessel now repurposed as a stage for an unexpected drama. Passengers are oblivious, shifting in their seats, some dozing off as the flight attendants move quietly about. The hum of the engines fills the cabin, a constant background noise. Yet amidst this ordinary setting, the atmosphere is thick with unease. D.B. Cooper sits calmly, though his mind races like a caged animal, assessing every moment. His heart beats drumming softly beneath the fabric of his shirt. He has just received the ransom, a sum of money that could change everything. He watches the crew as they hustle, preparing for takeoff. The captain's voice is steady over the intercom, but the urgency is palpable. Each command is laced with an awareness that this flight carries more than just passengers. Outside, the dusk deepens. Shadows stretch across the tarmac, swallowing the last remnants of daylight. Cooper's eyes flicker to the outside world. He cannot afford to lose focus. This departure marks the beginning of his meticulously planned escape. The flight crew, moving like clockwork, performs their routines. Safety checks, cabin pressurization, confirming the flight path. Tension heightens with every passing moment. Cooper's instructions are clear, his demeanor unfaltering. He sits back, folding his arms across his chest. An outsider in his own world. The passengers remain unaware of the interior storm brewing around them. All they see are clouds gathering at the window. As the wheels rumble on the runway, Cooper feels the plane lift into the sky. The ground falls away. The adrenaline coursing through him coils like a spring yet to be unleashed. He reminds himself of the stakes. Through the small window, the lights of Seattle flicker and fade. He has instructed the crew on a flight path that veers south, toward Mexico. Each decision calculated, down to the last detail. The flight's altitude gradually increases, and with it the distance from the ordinary life he is leaving behind. The cabin pressure shifts, the whir of engines crescendoing. Cooper's palms are clammy against the fabric of his pant legs. He breathes deeply, absorbing the current of the moment. The scent of jet fuel mingles with the stale air of the cabin, a bittersweet reminder of the risk he has taken. As the aircraft steadies, the flight attendants pass through the aisle with their practiced smiles. They have no idea that this is not an ordinary flight. The passengers are still engrossed in conversations, their laughter muffled by the walls of metal surrounding them. But Cooper's focus narrows. The world outside is growing dark, the dimming light casting long shadows across the cabin. The sense of isolation grows, even though they fly together. A solitude that is both thrilling and terrifying. Minutes slip away, ticking into the black void of night. Cooper's mind whirls with thoughts of escape. The money safely stowed away, his victory seems almost tangible. Yet he knows the flight will not remain serene forever. The deeper they fly into their trajectory, the closer he inches to a pivotal decision. Outside, the sky stretches endless and vast. Stars blink into existence above the clouds. He's traversing a fine line between control and chaos, a solitary figure bound to his fate. He surveys the cabin once more. Bewildered travelers, their eyes reflecting the soft glow of the overhead lights, unaware of their position in this unfolding narrative. Every heartbeat syncs with the rhythm of the engines. The sound of metal and propellant a lullaby for most, a warning for him. His pulse quickens with the realization of the stakes involved. As the hours glide by, anxiety builds like storm clouds on the horizon. At cruising altitude, the plane levels out. Cooper feels a sense of liberation mixed with dread. This is the moment where many dreams collapse or take flight. He removes a small note from his pocket, a single piece of paper reaffirming his resolve. Each line is a step in his plan, his outline, a blueprint of impending freedom. Around him, the hum of the engines wanes, the passengers engrossed in their mundanity. Their chatter fades into a soft drone. Only Cooper's breath remains loud against this silence, pulsating with purpose. Then it begins, the quiet encroachment of doubt. At that moment, Cooper knows that the hours ahead will test his mettle. The journey has just begun, yet the weight of his actions looms heavier with each passing second. The darkness outside mirrors his growing uncertainties. Quietly, the aircraft continues its course. The city lights below fade, reduced to pinpricks against the velvet abyss. The isolation grows starker, punctuating his thoughts. He must act before they reach their destination, before they descend into the vortex of the unknown. The ransom in his possession, a fleeting sense of security. He considers the layout of the aircraft, the emergency exits, the potential escape routes. He visualizes them, running through each possibility in his mind. In this chamber of metal, he is both the predator and the prey. The co-pilot glances back and their eyes meet briefly in a shared moment of unease. The plane hums steadily, its path unwavering. Yet tensions ripple beneath the surface, an unspoken agreement laced with hesitation. Cooper's pulse quickens, a stark reminder that time is moving. Each breath seems to anchor him closer to his resolve. The world spins below, disconnected from the events unfolding above. A clock ticks steadily in his mind. And as they fly deeper into the night, a singular thought crystallizes within him. There is no turning back. Soon he must decide when to act, when to push forward into the unknown beyond the safety of the cabin doors. Beneath the surface of calm, a storm brews. The arrival in Mexico lies ahead, yet Cooper ponders what his next steps will be. Life hangs delicately in the balance, teetering with every G-force shift. What awaits him there, where shadows and potential blend together? This departure from Seattle feels like the closing of one chapter and the unsettling beginning of another. All at once there is stillness. A heavy pause as the weight of reality settles in. The plane drifts through the night, carrying its secrets into the dark expanse. A quiet realization stirs within him. With every heartbeat, He knows the point of no return approaches. And that realization sends shivers down his spine. Darkness envelops more than just the exterior. It creeps within. Each moment thickens, looming ahead like the fog rolling in from the ocean, ready to obscure all that lies ahead. The next action remains uncertain. In the eyes of Cooper lies the dawning awareness that time and fate conspire against him. The descent into uncertainty awaits. Chapter 5. Entering the unknown. The aircraft hums a steady rhythm. Inside the cabin, passengers sit unaware, lost in their own thoughts. Maybe they are dreaming of home, or perhaps they are planning the next leg of their journey. At the front, D.B. Cooper quietly surveys the scene. He is clad in a dark suit, an inconspicuous silhouette against the muted colors of the aircraft. His heart beats steadily, but beneath the calm exterior, the weight of his intentions hangs heavy in the air. Outside the plane, the night sky stretches endlessly, a deep, velvety black. Stars flicker in a distant realm, but Cooper is focused on the world below. The terrain is a jagged tapestry of green and gray, punctuated by the shimmering outlines of rivers and roads that weave through the dense forest. The temperature drops as the aircraft climbs. The cold seeps in, a chill that makes the very air feel brittle. Cooper adjusts the straps of his parachute, an uncomfortable reminder of what is to come. His fingers brush against the fabric, feeling the texture as he prepares mentally for the jump. What lies beneath? He imagines the forests, towering trees that will swallow him whole, unseen hazards hidden beneath a canopy of shadows. Each breath he takes is measured, a slow exhalation that mingles with the cabin air, thickening with anticipation. Passengers shift in their seats. A child giggles somewhere near the back, oblivious to the tension binding Cooper's resolve. He steals a glance through the tiny oval window, observing the churn of clouds. They swirl like cotton, white and impenetrable, but below, the rugged earth awaits. Silence envelops him. Thoughts flutter through his mind like leaves in a breeze. They scatter quickly, yet one pervades. Freedom. The notion claws at him with primal instinct. It is both exhilarating and frightening. The faint hum of engines fills the cabin, a reminder of the tenuous link between the safety of the aircraft and the unknown wilderness below. Cooper tightens his jaw, the muscles in his neck straining under the weight of decision. His eyes flicker toward the exit. What would it mean to step into the abyss? A sudden lurch shakes the plane, subtle yet unnerving. A gasp ripples through the passengers, a few exchanging quick, worried glances. The flight attendants move with trained calm, but Cooper senses a shift. There is a resolute clarity in his mind. This is it, the moment he has engineered with grim precision. He unzips his bag, pulling out the chute, fingers deftly working as he does so. The fabric slides between his fingers, cold and unfamiliar. Outside, the darkness beckons. It promises trials and challenges, but it is the vast, open landscape that draws him in. Cooper's chest swells with a mix of fear and determination. Below lies the rugged, untamed territory of the Pacific Northwest, where nature reigns supreme, uncaring, yet compelling. He stands up slowly, feeling the weight of the moment like a cloak. There is a heavy stillness in the air. The world outside seems to pause, holding its breath. The cabin fills with a growing murmur. The hum of panic dances through the seats, but Cooper's focus narrows. Each step toward the rear of the plane reverberates against the floor, a heavy echo that punctuates the unfolding scene. Outside, the wind howls softly, whispering of distant mountains and valleys, obscured by the night. Cooper's heart beats in tempo with each calculated step. He reaches the emergency exit, the cold metal frame striking against his fingers. He pauses, looking back at the enclosed space. People, lives intricately woven together for mere hours. Unsewn threads that represent hope and dreams, suddenly tangled with dread. But that is not his focus now. With every ounce of resolve, he grips the handle, feeling the tension of the moment coiling inside him. Daring freedom lays before him in the vast embrace of the wilderness. A final glance back. The lights of the cabin flicker, casting fleeting shadows over faces that remain unaware of the impending plunge into darkness. They are blissfully ignorant while he stands on the threshold of fate. Then, with a deep, steadying breath, he pulls the door open. The roar of wind invades the space, a furious entity that hurls itself into the plane and howls around Cooper, seducing him into the void. He steps back for barely an instant, the reality of the moment swirling around him, a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions colliding violently. Without another heartbeat to reconsider, Cooper leaps into the night. The air rushes past him, a chaotic symphony of sound as he descends into the unknown. In that split second, he is both lost and liberated, a singular figure disappearing into the vastness of the forests waiting below. His parachute unfurls with a sudden jolt, a tether pulling him back from the abyss. Yet the weight of the world presses down. Darkness envelops him like a shroud, and the treetops whisper secrets that no man should hear. Each breath is laden with the realization of what has been left behind, and the precarious journey that lies ahead. As the ground rushes closer, the uncertainty of survival hangs thick in the air. Will he land among the towering pines, secure in his escape, or become ensnared in the embrace of the wilderness? The tension escalates, the world below drawing him in, its sprawling expanse filled with both promise and peril. With each passing second, the stakes deepen, leaving only a haunting echo of what was and an eerie anticipation of what is to come. Chapter 6. Jumping into Darkness. The clock reads 8:13 p.m. The cabin hums with the sound of the engines, an insistent drone. Passengers remain oblivious, cocooned in their seatbelts, while the plane levels out in the night sky. Then he moves. D.B. Cooper, as the world would come to know him, steps carefully towards the rear stairs of the Boeing 727. The dim lights flicker, casting long shadows on the carpeted floor. Each step is measured, decisive. Outside, darkness wraps around the aircraft like a heavy cloak. The cold air waits, still and patient, as he positions himself at the threshold. The sensation is jarring. He feels the plunge of the temperature, dropping abruptly. The wind beckons, but it also promises the bite of frost. Cooper exhales slowly, his breath visible as a fleeting mist. The last moment, spent inside the known world, hangs heavy in the air. There is no room for hesitation. With a final glance back, he discards the safety of the cabin. In one fluid motion, he jumps. The transition is immediate. He is swallowed by the night. The world above him fades into silence, replaced by the roar of the wind. It rushes past him, fierce and unyielding. The parachute pulls at his back. It tugs with a ferocity that threatens to rip him apart. He feels the cord tighten against his harness, an anchor in the chaos of the void. In those agonizing seconds of free fall, his body transforms. Adrenaline floods his veins, sharpening his senses. He feels the cold seep into his skin, the chilling embrace of a night far from human warmth. The darkness is profound, an unfathomable blanket engulfing him. The forest looms below, an uncharted expanse of towering trees, jagged ridges, and unseen dangers. He scans his surroundings mid-flight, taking note. Shadows meld into one another, obscuring safety or peril. There is no guarantee of a landing, merely hope tangled in fear. Then the parachute opens. He is yanked upwards, the sudden force jolting him back into the present, weightlessly suspended for a heartbeat. But the peace is momentary. The descent quickens again, now guided by the drag of fabric and air. Below, the treetops beckon, though they are not welcoming. They twist and sway, ghostly figures in the moonlight, standing sentinel in their verdant silence. As he nears the ground, branches scrape the parachute, whispering secrets and warnings. His heart pounds a rhythm as he braces for impact. He lands with a muted thud, the ground unforgiving beneath him. The drop sends a jolt up his legs, announcing his arrival in this unknown wilderness. The forest smells of damp earth and decaying leaves. There's an undercurrent of pine, sharp and invigorating, but also the staleness of rot. He lies there for a moment, breathing deeply, as if absorbing the density of night around him. This is it. He is alone. Untraceable now. He pulls at the parachute, loosening himself from its grasp. Each movement is deliberate, though his fingers tremble with a mixture of thrill and dread. Shadows play tricks on his eyesight, stretching and contorting in the dim light of the moon, filtering through the branches overhead. He looks around, surveying his surroundings. The trees loom taller, their trunks gnarled and forbidding. The sounds of the forest shroud his senses. A soft rustle far off, perhaps the night creatures going about their business, unaware of his presence. How far is he from civilization? He imagines the faces on the flight, unaware of the chaotic turn of events that would end in their silence. With a creeping sense of urgency, he knows he must move. Each decision now has weight. Every rustle in the underbrush could be a witness to his presence. He takes a silent step forward, then another. The earth shifts beneath his feet. It squelches softly, rich with the moisture of a forest floor long abandoned by the sun. The chill creeps into his bones, a reminder of the precariousness of his situation. He is not just a figure in darkness. He is a desperate man alone against the elements with minimal resources. The cool air bites gently at his cheeks, whispering of frost to come. Shadows dance around him, a disorienting ballet led by the sway of branches above. Even the stars seem distant in their own cold brilliance, indifferent to his plight. Time stretches painfully. Each second becomes an eternity as he navigates through the wild. He considers his options. To head north, perhaps, or south, but his knowledge of this terrain is scant. What lies ahead? Will he find solace in the shelter of thick brush, or be exposed to the dangers that lurk beneath the canopy? Alongside him, the shadows pulse, distorting shapes and beckoning thoughts. Stillness wraps itself around him, thickening the air. And then a realization creeps in. A stark reminder that he is not just navigating the wilderness. He is fighting against time itself. A survival instinct stirs within him. He needs warmth, needs food, needs to get off the forest floor. Survival requires strategy and instinct, but all he has is the enveloping darkness. He can almost feel the weight of the forest pressing down, as though it holds its breath in anticipation of his next move. The shadows flicker with life, urging him to press onward. As he ventures further into this sprawling wilderness, awareness heightens. Each crack of a twig beneath his feet echoes in the stillness, amplifying the quiet urgency of his existence. The future is uncertain, a churning storm of possibilities that could just as easily lead him to safety as to peril. He peers into the infinite unknown, steeling himself. The rustle of the bush grows deeper. There is life here, tucked away in the folds of night. Creatures that have thrived in the absence of light. He inhales sharply, reminded of the precariousness of his solitude amidst this vast wilderness. With a deep breath, he continues. The shadows stretch before him, concealing pathways toward both danger and refuge. As he pushes deeper into the night, he senses the shift in the atmosphere, as if the very air is alive with possibility. The call of survival resonates in his bones, urging him ever forward. What he needs is clarity. The forest may hide many secrets, but it also holds the key to his survival. Yet the unseen threats loom, a reminder that not all creatures in the dark are friendly. With each step, he inches further into an abyss where the line between survival and despair blurs under the dim guidance of the stars. He journeys onward, guided by an insatiable thirst for survival. But now the silence has fractured. A sound rings out, sharp, unrelenting. A reminder that he is not alone in the vastness of the wilderness. The darkness thickens around him. Whatever waits in the shadows is beckoning, waiting to test the limits of his resolve. What lies in wait for Cooper? The question hangs heavy in the air as he presses on, inching towards something far greater than just his own fate. Chapter 7. The Aftermath of Chaos. The aircraft glides through an overcast sky, the faint whir of its engines echoing through the quiet air. Inside, the crew sits in stunned silence, each lost in their own thoughts. They have returned from an ordeal where survival intersected with terror. The cockpit feels heavy with unspoken words. The pilots exchange nervous glances, grappling with the weight of what has occurred. The plane is stained not with blood but with uncertainty. The weight of the hijacking hangs like a thick fog, wrapping around them long after the adrenaline has ebbed. As the plane lands, the routine of post-flight checks unfolds. Ground crew members stand by, their faces etched with concern. They know something significant has transpired, something that will ripple through not just their lives but across the country. Outside, the Pacific Northwest looms large. Towering evergreens stretch toward a sky that hangs heavy with impending rain. Thick underbrush conceals the ground, creating a labyrinthine maze of foliage and steep inclines. This rugged landscape becomes an ally to the unknown. Clarity falls over the crew, but not the sense of safety they crave. Questions ricochet through the air. What had they missed? How could one man vanish into this unforgiving terrain? A swelling desperation seeps into their bones, kindling a grim determination to seek answers. The FBI mobilizes quickly, dispatching teams to scour the region. But the search faces immediate challenges. Dense forests cloak the land, forming natural walls between potential hiding spots and those determined to find them. Communication falters amidst the isolation. Each team mirrors a careful choreography, moving through the wild in pairs, each step punctuated by the muffled crunch of leaves underfoot. The whispers of the trees accompany them, as if the landscape itself holds its breath, aware of the human drama unraveling within its depths. They set up a command post near the banks of the Columbia River. The sound of rushing water offers an eerie counterpoint to the stillness of the forest. Here, they lay out maps, annotations tracing the flight path. They mark potential drop zones, narrowing down the possibilities of where Cooper might have landed. The effort begins, but optimism fades in the face of reality. The ground transforms every few yards, shifting from muddy banks to jagged rocks. Even seasoned searchers find their feet unsteady on the treacherous terrain. Each effort feels insurmountable as shadows lengthen with the fading light. Reports begin to trickle in from local residents. Fishermen on the river's banks share stories of strange, fleeting figures darting through the woods. Tourists recall hearing unusual noises that night. These accounts stir the imagination, but offer little concrete evidence. Search teams methodically comb through the underbrush, scanning every inch of the landscape with metal detectors. Their eyes strained for even the faintest glimmer. They unearth nothing but remnants of nature, the discarded belongings of hikers, animal tracks pressed into the mud, each discovery merely leading them deeper into frustration. Suddenly, the weather takes a turn. Clouds roll in thick and dark, blotting out the remnants of the fading light. A fine mist begins to drench the trees, adding a slick sheen to the ground. Visibility dwindles, and the forest closes in. And so begins the dance with nature itself. The temperature drops sharply. Workers shiver, their breath forming foggy puffs that vanish in the damp air. Cold seeps into their bones, eroding the morale that had begun the effort. As night descends, the forest transforms. Shadows stretch ominously while strange sounds pierce through the silence. Rustling leaves, snapping twigs, the distant hoot of an owl. It feels as if the wilderness has awakened, in the stillness lying an unspoken threat. In the dim glow of flashlights, determination battles exhaustion. Team leaders huddle to plan for the next day, their faces drawn, tired eyes scanning the dark. The weight of expectation presses down. The media's voracious appetite for details only heightens their pressure. With every unanswered question, tension mounts. Time feels like quicksand, dragging their resolve under. Each passing hour brings the creeping fear that Cooper may have eluded them entirely, that he is lost among the very trees intended to conceal him. The following morning brings little reprieve. A light drizzle hangs in the air, but the search must continue. Teams spread out, revisiting areas already scoured, hoping for the unexpected. They fan out like a web, slowly treading over the ground they once covered. Each rustle of foliage feels charged. Was it a sign? Could Cooper still be out there? The thinning morale gives way to an unsettling sense of dread. After all, he has not been seen since that fateful jump. Days pass into an uncomfortable rhythm. Nature refreshes itself, oblivious to the human turmoil beneath its surface. Searchers break, their food supplies dwindle, and the elements wage an invisible war against determination. They are caught in a haunting loop, hunting, searching, hoping, but finding nothing. Then whispers begin to circulate among locals. Reports surface of cash, the kind that could have belonged to Cooper, turning up in unexpected places, drawing attention back to the search. Bills show up at roadside stands, emerging in small quantities, almost tauntingly. Authorities rush to confirm the bill's authenticity. Each discovery ignites a flicker of hope. Maybe Cooper does exist within the wilderness. But reality, with its harsh truth, looms larger. The rugged reality of survival begins to cut deeper. Food limitations test the searchers' endurance, while the looming specter of doubt gnaws at their reason. With each passing day, the probability dwindles. Is Cooper's fate a tragic truth they must confront? As rumors flourish, darkness gathers, thicker and more palpable. Human intent grapples with the unpredictable chaos of nature, fate intertwined in an endless loop. A profound seriousness blankets the region, knitting together the searchers' resolve, yet fraying edges of possibility. And it becomes apparent, with the thickening dread and sheer volume of the land itself pushing against them, the upcoming days will either uncover the fateful path that Cooper has taken, or seal his story indefinitely within the depths of the Pacific Northwest's embrace. The shadows lengthen, and the forest holds its breath, awaiting what they might find, or fail to find, in the haunting quiet. What next? Echoes unanswered, leaving a lingering uncertainty that pulls ever deeper into the mystery that remains unsolved. Chapter 8. The Ransom and its Discovery. It begins with a serene weekend by the Columbia River. The water flows gently, glistening under the late spring sun. A family gathers for a day of leisure, laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves overhead. Children splash, their joyous cries echo in the stillness. Then a glint catches a father's eye. He stands, shielding his gaze from the sun. Curiosity peaks, pulling him closer to the riverbank. There, half buried in the damp earth, is something unusual. He crouches down, brushing away the debris. In his hands he discovers a bundle, a weathered stack of bills. They are worn, but ancient markings catch the light. The father feels a chill creep down his spine, a stark contrast to the warmth of the day. Realization settles in. He recognizes those serial numbers. They belong to the infamous ransom money. The bills were part of the $200,000 DB Cooper had demanded, a key to understanding a mystery that had haunted a nation. He calls his family, their laughter now a distant memory. Excitement intertwines with dread as they gather around. The children's playful shouts fade, replaced by anxious whispers unfurling in the heavy air. Word spreads quickly, weaving through the town like wildfire. Investigators rush to the scene, their heavy boots squelching in the mud. An uneasy anticipation hangs over everyone. They collect the bills, each one a fragment of a chilling story, a connection to a man who vanished into thin air. Careful analysis reveals the bills were buried, possibly untouched for years. Experts examine every detail, validating their authenticity. Millions of questions resurface, echoing the same theme. Who was D.B. Cooper? How did he elude capture? The investigation intensifies. Agents pored over files and maps under dim lights, scouring for patterns hidden within the chaos. The case, reignited, slowly awakens, breathing life into old leads. They sift through records and interviews, piecing together the threads of a vanished figure. The Columbia River, once a tranquil setting, transforms into a symbol of mystery and longing. Each ripple in the water seems to whisper stories of an escapade that defied comprehension. The bills, once a tool of escape, have become a beacon for newfound hope in solving the case. Yet, as excitement builds, a sense of obscurity looms. Who was he? The man behind the mask remains elusive, slipping deeper into the shadows of history. Despite the renewed attention, the investigation feels less like resolution and more like wading through fog. Detectives scrutinize every detail. They analyze the origin of the discovered cache, tracing it back in time, mapping its journey. It is a slow, treacherous path. Each new lead is a stepping stone shrouded in uncertainty, leading them deeper into the mire of unanswered questions. Meanwhile, the once quiet river exhibits a haunting quality. It reflects the duality of hope and despair. Families enjoy picnics just a few feet away from the site of discovery, oblivious to the weight those bills carry. They laugh, their voices merging with the sounds of the rushing river, a stark contrast to the tense atmosphere surrounding the investigation. As they excavate the past, investigators grapple with a poignant reality. The allure of solving the Cooper case is strong, yet the deeper they dig, the farther the truth seems to wander. Each answer leads to another question, enveloping their minds in a web of intrigue. Then, a shift occurs. A new tip arrives. It holds the possibility of a breakthrough, a conversation that could lead them to the truth. Whispers about the burned man in the woods, the man seen near the scene after the heist. The tension thickens, palpably woven into the fabric of the narrative. As the chapter concludes, tensions rise like the waters of the Columbia River. Just when investigators feel they may grasp the elusive strands of D.B. Cooper's identity, something unsettling emerges. An unknown witness claims to have seen an unusual figure near the riverbank, around the time the ransom cache was discovered. The crisp tranquility of the river is overshadowed by a thin veil of uncertainty. A chilling realization settles over those who seek the truth. The deeper they probe, the more they realize the answers may remain forever obscured, like the depths of the murky waters unfurling beneath them. As days turn into months and then years, the story of D.B. Cooper seeps into the fabric of American folklore. Each retelling becomes a thread in the growing tapestry of myth. Investigators comb through mountains of evidence, sifting through witness accounts and forensic data, yet clarity remains elusive. The FBI opens files, thick volumes filled with theories and profiles. Some are meticulous, others are barely more than scribbled notes. Each document is a testament to the desperation to grasp something tangible. A name, a motive, a trace. Amateur sleuths indulge in speculation. They scour databases and archives, piecing together fragments of information. They watch old news footage, the hushed tones of the anchors imparting urgency to the smooth, calm face of chaos below. The hijacked flight, the demands for ransom, the mystery that unraveled in a spiral of smoke and shadows. A multitude of suspects emerge. Each potential D.B. Cooper is depicted with a wild imagination. A former serviceman, perhaps? One who could navigate the skies, skilled in survival and evasion. Old photographs surface, capturing men with vague resemblances. They become suspects solely by virtue of their hairstyles or the creases around their eyes. People gather at cafes, murmuring theories over steaming cups of coffee. The atmosphere thickens. The scent of brewed Java fills the air as patrons spin tales of a man who parachuted into obscurity. A creature of shadows, darting between the trees, blending into the earth. Media coverage spikes, igniting interest across the nation. Documentaries appear, saturating screens with grainy images of the Cooper case. They depict some suspects with an almost romanticized lens, inflating their mundane lives with a cloak of intrigue. The fascination simmers, punctuated by the inevitable questions. Who was he? Did he survive? Where did the money go? Each year brings renewed efforts to draw conclusions. The FBI officially closes the case in 1979, yet the legend flourishes undeterred. Loyalists and enthusiasts remain, dedicated to solving the puzzle. They map the probable paths Cooper may have taken, poring over topographical maps, tracing lines in pencil where he might have landed. The weather complicates tales of survival. Gray skies drape over the Pacific Northwest, heavy with secrets. Rain falls, soaking the lush greenery. In the dead of winter, chill gusts whip through the trees, the air thick with fog. Rumors swirl, whispered stories about a man stumbling through the underbrush, soaked and cold, clutching a briefcase filled with cash. Yet as years pass, hope wanes. The authorities admit defeat. No forensic evidence, no DNA, nothing to anchor the high-flying fugitive to reality. Those who believed in closure feel the weight of uncertainty. They see Cooper not as a criminal but as a specter, a being evading tangible grasp, forever slipping through the cracks. New theories arise. Some believe Cooper was never alone. Did a partner assist him, navigating him through those fateful hours? The question hangs in the air, intriguing yet chilling. The thought of accomplices complicates the narrative, expanding the possibilities. Cold cases like this thrive on speculation. Books and articles offer their insights. Some crackle with thrilling new perspectives, while others rehash the same ground. Each piece of media churns the story anew, propelling it forward. Yet the core remains unchanged. A man, an airplane, a daring escape. In cafes, voices grow animated. They share wild theories about the fate of the ransom. Did Cooper bury it? Invest it? Or did he let it slip away, lost to time and soil? Speculation grows more eccentric. Some claim he smiled at the cameras, perhaps a cryptic laugh only he understands. Others insist that the truth lies buried beneath the landscape of the old world, a time when stories of such cunning seemed possible. The legend plants itself deeply in the American psyche. It becomes a story told and retold, each version carrying its own nuances, its own weight. Children grow up hearing about D.B. Cooper, a name synonymous with mystery and adventure. Pencil marks in notebooks outline theories, sketches made after countless discussions around kitchen tables and in dimly lit bars. Maps are covered in notes detailing possible landing spots, with circles around the trees or streams where he might have paused. Footprints left in mud are examined for potential signs of life, or some trace of the legend who slipped through the night. But with each retelling comes a darker undertone. There's a sharp contrast between the romanticism of the story and the grim realities faced by many struggling in the shadows of society. Each theory holds weight, yet reality is often more unforgiving. The idealized version of Cooper can distract from the harsh truths of desperation and survival. The weather grows increasingly hostile, even as theories flourish. Storms sweep in with an intensity that stirs anxiety. Winds howl through the trees, echoing the uncertainty of those wanting to believe in something extraordinary. Cold air wraps around the branches, squeezing tight, as if nature itself mocks those searching for answers. Yet still, the legend expands. Each new lead pulses energy into the tale. Analysts and scholars dive into the psyche of the man behind the mask. What compelled him to take such a risk? Was it merely a financial desperation or something deeper, driven by years of transient living? With every passing season, hope remains. Each skirmish with reality only strengthens the resolve. People cling to the idea of unraveling the mystery, as unshakable as the fog hovering above the ground. They crave connection to a story larger than life. And then a new piece of evidence emerges, a supposed confession, a grainy photograph hinting at new connections. Investigators and enthusiasts alike lean forward. The rhythmic pulse of potential moves the narrative toward an urgent climax. They gather around screens and papers, hearts racing with anticipation. But still, the truths remain buried under the dense weight of a cold and calculating world. Nothing confirms or denies the tales spun around campfires and on bustling city streets. D.B. Cooper remains a wraith-like figure, etched into the consciousness of the collective imagination. The specter of doubt lingers. As theories bloom, reality looms like an unseen predator in the shadows. The enigmatic figure darting through the trees is as much a product of desire as of the harsh, unyielding world he navigated. The tension builds, ready to release, leaving everyone suspended in thought. Years stretch on, and the questions remain, tantalizing yet ultimately unanswered. That icy realization looms. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to linger indefinitely. The veil drawn tight, just beyond reach. Chapter 10. Lessons from the Escape. The cabin of the Boeing 727 hums with the echoes of a shared anxiety. Each muted thrum of the engines carries with it the weight of doubt. How does one achieve the impossible? D.B. Cooper, a name etched into the annals of aviation history, remains both a symbol of boldness and an enduring question mark. On that fateful November evening, he sat in the dim light of the cabin, surrounded by passengers unaware that their lives were about to change forever. The air is heavy with a mix of fear and resignation. Passengers shift in their seats, glancing at one another, trying to comprehend the unfolding reality. A familiar dread settles, thickening the atmosphere. Flying at a height of around 10,000 feet, the temperature outside drops sharply, creating layers of frost on the windows. Inside, the cabin is a juxtaposition of warmth against that icy expanse, a stark contrast to the chill of impending chaos. The scent of recycled air mingles with the tension, creating a unique blend of claustrophobia and dread. Outside, the night looms, a vast black canvas broken only by the twinkling lights of distant towns below. Yet Cooper sits calmly in his seat, the determined gaze of someone who has prepared for this very moment. His resolve stands unyielding, even as the passengers around him dissolve into nervous trepidation. The hijacking unfolds with the methodical precision of a well-rehearsed play. Cooper's demands are simple: a sum of money, parachutes, and a safe escape. Each request lays bare the vulnerabilities of the time. Aviation security is a fledgling fortress, barely built to withstand the tremors of such an audacious act. As the crew scrambles to meet these demands, the aircraft's environment shifts. The passengers' breaths become shallow, quickening as the plane circles the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Each turn seems to last an eternity. The anticipation is palpable, a living, breathing entity constricting around the populace. Outside, the ground rushes closer, illuminated by the pale glow of streetlights, while the weight of the airplane presses deeper into the fabric of the night sky. Cooper's heart pounds, but outside, the world below remains blissfully unaware of the intensity unfolding. Once on the ground, a hush envelops the cabin. Cooper assesses the situation. He knows that once the money is in hand, he must act swiftly. The cold air enters as the back stairway of the plane lowers, a portal to freedom. He studies the night, gauging the firm hand of fate that rests on this moment. The crew hands over the briefcase filled with cash. High-denomination bills, $10,000, a sum that evokes both desperation and a false sense of security. Each crumpled note, a token of fleeting wealth, symbolizes a gamble against time. In subdued determination, Cooper readies himself. Time is finite, and the gift of a dark sky can quickly turn to a curse. The air outside is dense with moisture, a lover's embrace that stifles rather than comforts. It presses against Cooper's skin, a reminder that one misstep could be fatal. The moment has come. Cooper discreetly slips out of the plane. The world envelops him in silence. The finality of his leap blends with the quiet whisper of the wind. Falling through the open darkness, Cooper loses all sense of gravity, except the weight of his choices swirling around him. Yet at that same moment, the universe stretches thin. This is not just a leap, but a question of existence. As the sound of the Boeing's engines fades, the vast unknown sweeps in, a blanket of isolation. In this moment, he is both liberated and ensnared. The uncertainty of survival looms large. If the chute fails, or if he miscalculates the descent, the freedom he craves may slip like sand through fingers. His parachute erupts into life, filling with air, a heart against the night sky. Yet it is not without risk. The chill of the night wraps around him, the temperature dropping into bone-deep cold. The darkness swallows the horizon, yet his landing remains unseen. Lessons from the escape echo in every creak of the branches and rustle of the leaves. Nature, indifferent to humanity's tumult, waits patiently beneath him. Its beauty is a stark reminder of the fragility of life, each blade of grass and fallen leaf absorbing the weight of his descent, both a promise and a challenge. Cooper's thoughts revolve around the implications of his daring act. Aviation security, previously a bureaucratic afterthought, now must contend with the unpredictable nature of human resilience and desperation. This incident redefines vulnerability in the air. The escape unfolds in a ballet of shadows and whispers. Each decision, each action, will ripple through time. The cold earth beckons. Survival becomes an instinctual dance. Cooper's body adjusts to the unfamiliar heartbeat of the wilderness. He lands softly, yet the world around him is defined by its hostility. The cold penetrates through clothing and into flesh, each breath a reminder of his precarious situation. Concerns of being quickly found begin to creep into his thoughts. In the aftermath, he faces the overwhelming expanse of the forest, a labyrinth of shadows and possibilities. The trees morph into giants, their silent watch holding secrets within their boughs. Each crunch of fallen leaves echoes through the night, a reminder of how alone he now truly is. What had sparked a bold heist has transformed into a test of endurance and resolve. The stakes have heightened. Hunger and cold may become more threatening than any diversionary chase. As Cooper gathers his bearings, the echoes of the situation reverberate in stark clarity. The failures of safety protocols are now laid bare. The resilience of the human spirit tested against the sheer expanse of the natural world. This is not merely an escape, it is survival. But the geography of survival is relentless. What will tomorrow bring when hunger claws at his insides? Each decision matters. Cooper understands the need to camouflage, to blend into the shadows of his choice. Left with dwindling options, he moves onward, the darkness encompassing him. Each footfall carries the weight of his leap, a profound understanding of life's delicate balance, dancing beneath the chaos he has unleashed. The forest looms ever larger and darker. Isolation sets in like a cold fog. With every step, uncertainty builds. The depths of the wilderness invite worry, and nature's indifference whispers the potential for failure. As D.B. Cooper trudges deeper into the night, audacious, fugitive now in both spirit and body, the very elements that promised escape threaten to become his undoing. Shadows stretch and twist along the path. The lessons from his extraordinary escape are not merely about the act itself, but about what follows in its wake. The instinct for survival now shapes his every move, while the questions of history linger in the cool air. How far will he go to thrive? And will he emerge from this night alive? An undeniable truth hangs heavy in the atmosphere. As Cooper continues into the deep, ink-black forest, the ground around him gives way to the impending darkness of uncertainty. His future, uncertain, becomes a reflection of the very act that set this all in motion. The narrative of a chilling escape, and the echoes of its lessons, continue to unfold, drawing closer with each passing moment. The legacy of D.B. Cooper. The tale of D.B. Cooper is more than an account of a sky-high heist. It is a lingering whisper in the corridors of time, echoing through the shadows of human cunning and desperation. This story, filled with uncertainty and intrigue, reveals the complexities of human behavior when faced with dire circumstances. Beneath the layers of bravado and mystery rests a profound truth. Cooper's audacious act mirrored the struggles of many during the bleak economic climate of the 1970s. The nation grappled with inflation, unemployment, and an unsettling sense of instability. Cooper, in his moment, may have become an exaggerated symbol of rebellion against a world that felt, at times, insurmountably weary. Each detail of that fateful flight amplifies the surreal. The hush of the cabin contrasted grimly with the chaos brewing on the ground. Passengers were blissfully unaware as Cooper methodically planned his escape, all the while draped in the unassuming attire of a weary businessman. His actions shattered the serenity of flight, yet the aftermath left a scar of uncertainty that stretched over decades. For the investigators, the case transformed from a pursuit of a fugitive into a deeper examination of their very psyches. How does one chase a shadow? How does the notion of what was lost shape the human experience? The unanswered questions swirl like the winds that graze the vast Pacific Northwest, leaving within us a profound sense of yearning. Even now, with the years stacking upon each other like fallen leaves, Cooper's legend endures. The world watches, speculating, thinking, reflecting. The outlines of his persona morph into archetypes of hope and despair, enigmas and detours. We realize that the record of D.B. Cooper is not simply about his actions, but rather a broader commentary on the human spirit and its intrinsic need for escape, for freedom, and occasionally for survival. As the last echoes of his flight fade into history, we find ourselves pondering the ultimate question. What becomes of a legacy steeped in mystery? It is a shroud of speculation, one that lingers long after the final chapter is written. D.B. Cooper epitomizes the notion that sometimes what remains unsaid is more potent than what is revealed. His story leaves us with lingering whispers of curiosity and dread. If this history has left its mark on you, leave a like. It tells me you survived the journey. Drop a comment below. I want to know what part of this story haunted you most. As the shadows deepen, prepare for our next exploration into the annals of dark history, where we shall unravel another haunting tale that beckons from the depths of time's forgotten corners.